A charity known nationally for saving the lives of dogs and cats is now facing some questions about how it failed to properly feed starving dogs in the DeKalb County Animal Shelter.
The founder of Lifeline Animal Project tells Fox 5 I-Team reporter Randy Travis her staff made a, quote, awful mistake. Randy joins us now with why the DeKalb County Police Department is so upset with Lifeline.
Yeah, Russ and Sinead, we want to warn people that some of these pictures may be disturbing. Lifeline manages the DeKalb shelter, but it's the police department that's responsible for investigating animal cruelty cases. Well, last spring, officers brought in 3 starving dogs, but could not understand weeks later why they were not gaining weight.
So it's all the way in the back, and this is an area not open to the public.
This is the 400 block of the DeKalb Animal Shelter, where dogs involving bite cases or animal cruelty are quarantined until their criminal cases are resolved. On March 31st, officers seized 2 emaciated dogs, Jax and Cicely. The next day, they brought in a dog named Chaos, also severely malnourished. But according to this police memo, when detectives stopped by 2 weeks later to weigh those dogs, they found they looked physically the same as we had last seen them. There's a reason for that. Lifeline employees failed to feed them properly.
How could an animal shelter forget to feed starving dogs?
To be honest with you, Randy, this was an awful mistake, and we take full responsibility for it.
In his memo, DeKalb Police Sergeant T.C. Medlin said he told Shelter Director Carrie Moyers Horton on April 13th, "I don't think they are being fed." He said she replied, "Don't generalize. They are being fed, just maybe not enough." Large signs went up on the cages requiring the dogs be fed 3 to 4 times a day. But detectives were not convinced. They pulled surveillance video of the 400 block and discovered none of the 30 dogs got food during a 47-hour period leading up to the police complaint to Lifeline. Even worse, nearly all the dogs also went without food for the 2 days after the complaint to Lifeline.
The team members had a miscommunication, and one team member thought the other team member was feeding.
So even after your folks were told, hey, these dogs aren't being fed, he says that there were 2 more days went by and they really weren't being fed.
Right, we had a breakdown in our system.
Twice?
Yes, so there's no excuse for this, Randy. I want to be really clear about this. There's no excuse for this kind of failure. We made a mistake.
And they not feeding him, so then you doing exactly what you claimed that we was doing.
One of those 3 starving dogs belonged to Alicia Sprinkler's boyfriend, Zedrick Tyner. He just bonded out of jail, charged with animal cruelty for leaving his dog Chaos in the garage to guard this abandoned house.
Hey, that's my baby.
They've since visited their dog in the shelter, hoping to reclaim him soon, even though police say Tyner is the reason his dog wound up there in the first place.
Then I should be able to get my dog back.
You think you deserve your dog back?
Yes, I deserve to get my dog back. And I do understand, you know, because I kept him in the garage, the conditions of the garage. I accept full responsibility to that. But I never mistreated my dog.
Regardless, Chaos seems to be back to a healthy weight now.
She's gained, I think, 30 pounds.
Oh, she looks great.
That's Cicely, who also arrived at the shelter weak and malnourished. But the third dog of the group was not so fortunate.
Can I reach in here and just look at this?
Last month, Jax was moved to the stainless steel cage in the medical section of the shelter. One night, he tried to squeeze through the opening and was found dead the next morning, his body pinched in the door.
See that indentation?
Lifeline places at least some of the blame on the cage itself.
We'll never know what happened here, Randy, but this isn't safe, and so we're not using it.
But DeKalb police shot this video of that cage right after the death, showing the door working properly. They blame Lifeline staff for not completely closing the door to the cage, thus allowing Jax to squeeze halfway through.
You're not disputing their video that shows that it's working right?
Yeah, I think the video was made to show that it was working right. It's not safe, and we're not going to use it.
These 2 terrible incidents happened just as Lifeline reached a magic number. Last month, 91% of the animals that came in here left with new families, compared to just 61% when the county ran the shelter. But to reach that magic 90% no-kill shelter status, Lifeline sometimes takes a chance by adopting out animals who are not spayed or neutered.
The irony is obvious. Lifeline built a national reputation for spay-neuter. Since the charity started, nearly 100,000 dogs and cats in metro Atlanta have been fixed to make sure they don't contribute to the pet overpopulation. So far, Lifeline says 188 dogs or cats have been adopted from the DeKalb shelter without being fixed, mostly because they were too young or too medically fragile for surgery. They're all supposed to return for spay or neuter at a future time.
I mean, there's a slight risk. I can't deny that. I think that it's a calculated risk that we put in place for life saving.
Guinn says of those 188 dogs and cats, only 6 have not returned for surgery. As for the 400 block of the shelter, Lifeline now requires staff sign a log after every feeding. Embarrassed that a charity created to help vulnerable animals could have failed at delivering their basic needs.
Is it possible that this team approach that fell apart because the team was more focused on adoptions?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. It's not about numbers. It's about saving their lives, finding them homes, giving them the chance that they deserve.
Well, if this incident causes any long-lasting friction between the police and Lifeline, they're going to have to get over it. There are no plans, we're told, to change the arrangement of police handling cruelty investigations and Lifeline running the animal shelter. Lifeline, by the way, does both duties in Fulton County with apparently much success.
Okay, and Lifeline says again that they are going to take another look at some of their policies and make sure this never, ever, ever happens again.
Yeah, they've got a great reputation, Sinead. This is clearly a black eye on that organization, and that's why they say they've taken steps to make sure that what we saw is never going to happen again.
Yeah, some folks on my Facebook page were shocked to hear about this and Lifeline because it has such a good reputation.
That's why it's newsworthy, Russ.
Yeah. Randy, thanks.
Okay.